Happy Monday, maybe. Kelly in Vegas here. Kelly Stewart, WagerTalk TV, CT Bets. Every single Monday, we're going to be here on the mini version of The Hustle, which is every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, live. Me, CT, Drew Martin Betts, and my little brother, Adam Trigger. But we're going to do something different. CT, we're going to do some recaps. Then you and I are going to start talking about Monday Night Football next week. 10, 15 minutes here. How was your weekend? And how come you don't want to kill Mike Norvell and James Franklin like I do?
Yeah, happy Labor Day, Cal. It's great to be here with you on the Monday version of the mini hustle. Weekend was good. You and I were talking and texting a lot this weekend, and I had a pretty good weekend here. I went 4-0 on posted plays. We did the hustle on Thursday night, gave out Utah, and then on Saturday, the 3 plays that I tweeted out, they were all winners. So it was great. Yesterday, I do still want to kill Mike Norvell, but you and I both, we talked about this, right? I leaned LSU, and I wasn't crazy about the game. And closer to game time, all that steam came in on Florida State. And even though the steam didn't matter at all this weekend, and we're going to talk about that, it just started scaring me. And I ended up getting off the majority of my LSU bet. So I still lost a little bit on last night. I didn't post the play because it wasn't strong on LSU. But, man, I'll admit when I'm wrong, Cal. They surprised me a little bit, the Seminoles. They looked a little bit better than I thought they would be. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. This is kind of my problem. Maybe I'm a little old school, and maybe I think things should be more traditionally. I don't know Mike, right? Don't know him from Adam other than he is the Seminoles football coach. Maybe there's a deep-seated hatred there towards Brian Kelly because that is the only time you do something like that. Like, not only did they punch it in and then just didn't play defense on the back end, so I know a lot of guys got screwed on the live, even worse than I did on the 57.5. But, like, that is, like, deep-seated hatred. Like, Bill Snyder would never, like, that in my life would ever do that. You just take a knee, you shake hands, you say good game. But that was an FU moment from Mike Norvell. And I know a lot of people loved him for it. Maybe they didn't have the under like I did. But what are your thoughts on that move in terms of, we'll say, like, sportsmanship or like, you know, like old school types of football coaches would never?
So I agree with you. I think there might be some background stuff that we might not know about because that didn't make any sense to me at all. It was like he really just wanted to shove it right up Kelly's you-know-what. I didn't understand it.
Yeah, he shoved up Kelly's you-know-what. This Kelly's. I could not sleep last night. I was like falling asleep, texting the group chat, and all of a sudden I was like, wait, what the just happened?
It didn't make sense, right? I mean, everybody that had the over on Twitter was going nuts, and everybody who had the under, unfortunately for you, because I was obviously rooting for you. I didn't have anything on the total. That was just mind-blowing to me. My wife said to me, she goes, wait, why is he trying to score right now? The game's over. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I don't understand right there. It was pretty amazing. And it goes back to Saturday night. You know, the Penn State game, when we were texting, you were losing your mind. I'm like, wait, what happened? I thought you're covering this game. And I turn it on in CT Sportsbook in my bottom left, and Franklin's going down the field. What, their backup, Aller was out, right? And they have the backup in and they drive it down the field and they want to punch that in. I didn't understand that one bit.
So I was texting with Joe Ranieri, our producer, your brother, a couple other people. We were on opposite sides. I was sitting there watching the games with my dad. I ended up taking West Virginia second half, plus 10.5. Yep. They punch it in, less than a minute left, and your brother is just going ape shit in the chat, like, about Neil Brown. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how these kind of games go, backdoor cover. I'm just sitting there kind of pretty like, all right. And then march down the field, James Franklin punches it in. So my overall question here is not to really bash on these guys, right? They're just doing their jobs. They don't care about our bets. No, I wish that they did. Is that going to be like a new thing we have to kind of handicap? Which coaches are going to not take a knee? Which coaches are going to shove it down somebody's throat? Because there's been plenty of times with like guys like Nick Saban that I felt really good knowing that they weren't going to score. I know that if Nick Saban is up 51, he's not going to score. He's just not that kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point, and I don't really, James. You and I talk about this all the time. James Franklin, always like to use the
Kicking is
term
for losers.
brain dead. Okay, he's made so many mistakes in his life. I mean, did Franklin have a family member that needed Penn State to cover? I don't know what that was, but there was no reason. You're risking your twos to get hurt. Who your twos play, right? And you had a great game. You're at home. You just blew out West Virginia and Neil Brown's team. It was embarrassing. Get off the field and go home. I don't get that. And yeah, and Norvell, like, I don't know. A lot of people were texting me today that are high on Florida State, Cal, saying that it was Norvell making a statement and saying that, Florida State's the real deal and they're here to play and they're going to be in the Final Four. I'm not sure I believe that yet. It's been one game, Cal. Everybody's losing their mind over Colorado and Deion Sanders here. I think we need to pump the brakes on everything, relax. Week 0 and week 1 are in the books. We're on the week 2 here. There's a long way to go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. CT, week 2 is always overreaction week. And we're going to get into that Colorado game as well because I wanted to get your thoughts on it. But let's talk about something our friend Brad Powers tweeted out because I made a joke on Twitter. Listen, okay, we all know I can be a little eccentric. I can be over the top, but Twitter's even more so. And I made a joke about CLV being dead because we all know how important it is to get the best of the number at any point in time. So I got the best of the number on North Texas. I got the best of the number on South Alabama. Toledo only dropped half a point. Luckily for me, they did cover, but man, they should have won that game outright. That was just disgusting. Letting Brett Bielema kick a last-minute field goal, giving up 4th and 4. Come on, guys, be better than that. But that being said, I felt like I had some really great numbers in pocket, as well did our good friend Adam Trigger. I mean, he had great numbers with a ton of teams, Colorado State, Miami of Ohio games. He bet back in August, and none of it mattered. And I joked yesterday on Twitter that I was going to take Oregon State. When it hit 13.5, I go, nope, Steam's been wrong all weekend. I'm taking the Beavs. San Jose State looked too good in their loss to USC, and there we were. So thoughts on that, and then we'll get into some more overreactions.
Yeah, the CLV, it didn't really matter this week, Kel. The only one that I had personally that ended up working out was Virginia Tech. I had them from about a month and a half ago, minus 13 over Old Dominion. It closed close to 17.5, 18. They rolled. But let's go back to Friday night, right? I played golf with my wife on Friday night, and it's 11 o'clock Eastern time, and we're texting in the group chat. And I said, yeah, I have a great number on Hawaii. And I got +7. And I looked like an asshole, right? You said to me, like,
no,
CT, are you going to come?
You did not. I said, any chance you want to middle and take Stanford -2? I'm kind of looking at them right now. And I ended up playing Stanford, and you said, I forget what you said. It was, you were obviously had a few beers.
Of course. And that's why I look like an asshole. I said, no, Kel, I'm greedy. I think Hawaii is going to win the game. I have a great number. The thing opens 10, right?
Yeah.
And it goes down to it. I think
Imagine
it closed Stanford, what, -1?
Imagine having +10 on that game.
10.
Still didn't
and you
cover.
Still lost, right? What would they lose by 12 or 13? Stanford ended up winning by, I believe.
Like that. I'd be lying if I said I watched that game. I had to be up early Saturday morning to do shows, but it was another one of those games. I think Brad Powers said that he had like 17 points on a total that didn't matter. There was just, I ended up not playing Fresno State because the line moved. I got screwed on Northwestern, who just didn't come to play. I knew that you and Trig had played Rutgers money line a month and a half ago when Pat Fitzgerald got fired, but I thought the line had moved too much. So I took 6.5 on Wednesday. I didn't end up putting him in my parlay, thank goodness, but still. And you have to think about those kinds of things. And that's why I also think that the CLV doesn't matter thing is also part of the overreaction. So let's talk about a couple more overreactions. You mentioned Colorado. I think Texas Tech is a big overreaction this week based on its current line. So let's touch on those two games before we get out of here.
Colorado really, I gotta say, they impressed me. That's another one I failed to mention. I had TCU -18 from earlier in the summer. So great number there. I mean, didn't beat it by too much. I think it only closed -21, -20.5.
Yeah,
Man,
I think most of the market was 20 and a half.
yeah, 20.5, right? I mean, everybody was saying, and a lot of our sharp friends, that, Dion's not the guy, and, he could be this rah-rah guy, but he's not going to be the answer, and he's not going to fix things overnight in Colorado. And man, his son was pretty impressive, I got to say. He threw for 5 touchdowns. Every time I looked up,
They were
the kid was
scoring.
scoring. The kid was running and gunning. It was wild. And that TCU team, you and I are Big 12 people, right? I mean, they lost a lot.
They
Still
did.
kind of an impressive win, Cal. You have to go into TCU.
Oh,
They just,
I definitely think it's an
like,
impressive win. This is a team that was in the college football playoff last year. Yeah, they lost,
yeah,
I think, 7 or 8 guys to the NFL. But Chris, here's one question that got asked to me on Saturday morning, and I had the wrong answer. I had a radio host ask me, he goes, well, don't you think Dion's 55 transfer portal guys, like he can get them to gel pretty well? And I said, no, I think they're going to need some time. With this transfer portal, when you get that influx of that many guys, I really thought it would take more time. Obviously, Dion is more of a player's coach. He's got some good X's and O's coordinators. Obviously, like you said, his son is really good. Hunter is really good as well. So they've got some real studs. The running back whose name I forget from Kansas, of course, is playing for Colorado, not Kansas State. So that's a little painful in itself. But do you think this transfer portal and what we've seen over the last 2 years it's going to benefit these smaller schools? I'm not going to lie to you. At first, I thought, oh my God, it's going to benefit Texas. It's going to benefit Georgia. It's going to benefit Notre Dame. All of these big money schools, like the NIL deals, are going to crush us. And instead, kids are leaving Alabama. They're leaving Florida State. They're leaving Texas because they're getting promised as 17-year-olds to play their first year. And when they sit on the bench for that first 6 months, they're like, we're out. We're going to go talk to this other coach in the middle of nowhere with a 3-win program team who says, I got to play tomorrow.
right. And then you think about it, right? When we were kids up, right? Deion Sanders was a big deal. Like, he was a huge deal. Now you have these kids and they're like, wow, this is Deion Sanders. I could go play for Deion Sanders and play right away. And, he's telling me, I love you. And he's probably calling him all the time. He's got the gold chains. I mean, he's got everything, right?
He's wearing a
the
hoodie
look,
on the sidelines in Fort Worth at like 105 degrees. And I'm going, how are you not melting? Like, I'm melting watching you. But it proves to me that he wants to be there. He cares about these kids.
Yep.
It's going to be really interesting. So question then, are you taking Nebraska +3 this weekend in the biggest overreaction? This line was 7.5. Nebraska -7.5 in the games of the year at South Point.
Kel, I'm looking at the WagerTalk odds screen right now. Every single, I mean, it's flying in on Colorado. It's wild, and it's down to 3 flat right now. And I watched that Nebraska-Minnesota game on Thursday, just as you did. And man,
yeah, me and Coco fell asleep on the couch.
It was a snooze fest, right? And Sims, the Georgia Tech transfer, the trigger man for Nebraska, he could barely throw the ball, and all of a sudden, he looked semi-decent, but man, Nebraska looked really, really bad. You look
what
at
do you think about the defensive side of things? That's where that's where my brain keeps going. Like, can this Nebraska defense stop Colorado? Because Colorado can't stop anybody, and neither can TCU.
No, that was very clear, because every time you looked up, either TCU was scoring or Colorado was scoring. So Colorado clearly has a problem on defense. Nebraska's defense they look semi-decent. I mean, not that Minnesota's offense was.
I was getting ready to say, is it because Minnesota's offense looks so poor? And that's where we have these week 1 issues, right? That we have to work through and actually look at it from a mathematical perspective amongst passing the eye test. Because I'm going to be honest with you, Chris, Nebraska did not pass the eye test for me.
Not even close for me either. And then this morning I'm looking at this game and I'm kind of thinking to myself, I really don't want anything to do with this game.
Thank you.
I'm really not going
to. I said that. I said that earlier to the Fade You guys. I go, you guys, I don't want anything to do with this game. I don't think I care to get involved. Now, granted, if I got Nebraska +6, so yesterday when Circa opened, Colorado -5, Brett's in Circa right now. I text him. I said, hey, if it hit 6, let me know. And he said, it ain't getting a 6. And he looked back up and it was already back to 2. It was a blip on the radar. Everybody hammered it for, 3 dimes a side and it was gone. So
Right.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Chris. That is the biggest overreaction. Really quickly, before we get out of here, we just hit 15 minutes. You and I could talk
Yep.
about this for the next 40, but we'll do
Of
one
course.
more game before we get out of here. Texas Tech, Oregon. I need to talk myself through this one, so I'm going to bring it up. I already had Texas Tech circled for the hottie threesome / underdog parlay / Kelly and Vegas parlay, whatever the hell we're calling it these days. And that was when Texas Tech had him +4, +4.5 maybe. Ralph Michael said he made it 5. And I respect his numbers, but I thought maybe it was a little high. Now it's 7 because, well, Oregon beat the pants off of Portland State. And
Right.
Texas Tech was up 17-0 and then just pissed it away. Were they looking ahead to Oregon? Did you watch the game, and what was your takeaway there in Laramie?
Yeah, so you and I were texting. I had a big win on UNC to close my night out, and then I had nothing left. And you were like, well, why don't you turn on this other game? So I turned the Texas Tech Wyoming game on. I ended up falling asleep, and I saw that Wyoming won in double overtime there. Yeah, it might have been a little bit of a look ahead. I know Wyoming is a tough place to play, right? But it's supposed to not be that tough a place to play until later on in the year. So Joey McGuire is a great coach. He was a longtime assistant at Baylor. He's not one that I would really think. He always gets his guys up, and his kids love him. So it was a little shocking to me that they went in there as a close 13.5.
Yeah,
And
and
they
there's
lose,
I had
that
Wyoming +14. Do you think I never even thought to sprinkle on the money line? I did not think Texas Tech was going to go there
right.
and lose that game. I have Texas Tech over 7.5 wins, and I guess that's the reason why I'm asking you, because I don't want to let that futures bet decide on me making an additional wager that maybe, just maybe, I have to
Yep.
admit already week 2, I was wrong on this Red Raiders team because they don't play any defense either. So now we got 2 high-powered offenses. Is it the last score wins?
Really tough place to play, Kel. And you're going to give me a touchdown with Joey McGuire, and they return I think they return 8 or 9 on offense. Tyler Show, great quarterback. You could tell he has a lot of talent. I'm sticking with Texas Tech here. Bo Nix and Oregon, they just go in, they blow out Portland State. Yeah, great. I mean, they haven't shown me anything yet. Texas Tech has that's a tough first game. You got to go to Wyoming. It might be a look ahead here. You're going to give me a touchdown. I'm with you on the Raiders here.
All right. At CT Bets on Twitter. We're going to be back Thursday night. Me, Drew Martin Bets, CT, and our boy Trig. I think Trig and Zeno are going to be coming on tomorrow night, and then we'll get Drew and BP on Wednesday, but we will see you guys on Thursday. Thanks for hanging out with us on Overreaction Week.